Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A layer owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community layer. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their layer. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
What's up, denizens? It is
Hello.
I, Distant, and he, Joe Dragon. We're back with another governance call in a series of end-of-the-year calls between yesterday and today. This is the last governance call of 2021.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, yes. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. We just wrapped up a recap earlier with World Blockchain Roundtable, and that was kind of cool going over the things that had happened this year. And we kind of got off on Den a little bit there, just talking about how there's been a lot of stuff happen this year. It's been cool. It's been exciting. Let's see here. We've got, right off the bat, we've got new layers. So we can talk about that today. We can talk about maybe some pointers for those new layer owners. If you haven't been a layer owner before, we can go through, some initial setup, decorate it, get some artwork up, decide on what the community guidelines, if any, are going to be, and go from there. So let's see here. I've got the LCP pulled up. Oh, also, if you want to join this call, there's a link in the agenda. If you go to the Den governance layer, you'll find, this is probably the top post in there right now, but there's a link to join. If you join that, you probably won't see us when you first pop into the lobby, but say something in private chat so we know what you want to talk about, and we'll probably bring you on and chat about it. So that's where that link is located.
Yes.
All right, onto the LCP. So that's resolved, and we have winners. We have one winner that won both categories. Again, just like Elon, we have advice taking the win for both unique voters and for the most number of lore committed.
67 unique. That's good.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's a lot. That's great. We also had, just like last month, we had do we have an official name for it? The alternate LCP fee-based layer creation process. Maybe we should have an acronym that's shorter.
Yeah. I don't know, something with runners up though. It should be right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you almost win but don't quite win, you can actually pay a fee in Matter, which you earn from the using the platform to get it created anyway, and it'll be created in the same way as any other LCP that wins, except the difference being you got to pay a fee for it because you didn't technically win. But if you're trying to get your layer booted up and you don't want to wait for the next round to compete again, then this is an option. You've got to be one of 5 runners up to do that. So
Right.
It would have been down to Japan had the option of doing that.
Yeah.
Motorcycles, and then Garden and Flowers did it.
It is important too, because the more people, the more layers that or proposals, I should say, not layers yet, that take that opportunity to create themselves, the more we in the end we will have an automated formula to decide how many new layers will be created each month, and it'll be something related to that. Later too, originally we thought there might be something related to active users that we'd decide it, but one way or another there'll be some algorithm that will decide how many new every month. I mean, Anyway.
Yeah, it could end up being a little bit of both, but I think that
Yeah.
this is kind of signaling also, right? When you pay a fee
Right.
to create a layer, it's kind of signaling to us that we didn't, there wasn't an opportunity for as many layers that had high desirability to be created.
Right.
So kind of based on that, we can say, okay, well, next month maybe, and we talked about this too. Let's say we add, theoretically, we add an extra one. Instead of 2, we have 3. Well, we probably add that to where it would be 2 under unique voters and
Yeah,
1
that'd be
under
awesome.
lore. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's kind of what I want to see. So if
I
we
think
were
it's
to
a
add
good
that,
idea. The thinking with me is that if like it's great to have like a bunch of votes on it, but I think if you're going to increase the number of layers you make in the interest of making them less dead, I guess it's good to have more people in it to get it
yeah.
started. So I think
And
that's naturally the best place to put
yeah,
the extra layer.
and it might also give because one thing I would like to see, but it would be really hard for it to happen naturally with only like we're doing right now, the 1-on-1 uh, is to have a large number but of unique voters, but a smaller amount of lore. Because the
Yeah.
problem right now is once you get the large number of voters, people know it's going to be created, so they'll throw a bunch of lore in. Throwing the lore in makes them both basically you get both categories with one.
Yeah.
So, but with this, it might help because the secondary one, you could get something that has a lot of, it still will increase the amount of lore probably.
I'm
but,
still surprised that we see the M there as much as we do. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. It's just that I'm surprised. I was looking. Let me just go all the way down here to the bottom. There's a few of them down here where, like you can see, I put in. I have a question that I didn't think of until just now, Joe.
Yes.
Are some of these where a user proposed it and then closed their account? And is that why like I have 100% of this here?
Some of them were proposed, and it depends on how long ago. Some of them, I know I've seen some of them were proposed a while back, and when it came in there, they just didn't during the week didn't commit anything, and so
Oh,
it
that
stayed
makes
down
sense.
below. There's huge opportunity there though, because like say Elon Musk was that way, and I threw in a
Yes.
bunch at the start, pushed it up high enough for people to realize like that would be an interesting layer with all the different content. So a bunch of people threw in, and then you aren't gonna have. And you don't want a high percentage anyway.
Yeah.
And what is it? Gosh, and Den will have 10,000, I think, every time of the winning ones. And now the proposer will get 10,000. But Den puts in lore to do that. So you will never, you won't get 100 anyway. But
Some of these at the end are kind of interesting though, like the gamification of that, like you were talking about. How do you, for right now? So there's 3 lore among each of us have 1 lore in, right? So I have 33% of this one. How do you maintain a low lore count but still push it way up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the answer is to just kind of like indirectly signal that and only put in 1 lore at a time. So if somebody sees that it's got 67 unique and 67 lore, maybe they'll just I don't know.
And if you really, really want something with a small lore count, like say memes has just a couple of thousand, and it generates a lot of matter, right? They're cut like a cryptocurrency, maybe. There are a couple that have like 1,000 matter that were the original layers. That how do I say this? It would be best if you wanted to do that to come in and create a business side layer like what we did with
that's true.
The blockchain roundtable. We started with I think it was 3 lot so that the team could turn it on and set it up, and yet every other lot generated since then has been rewarded for participation. So it's just growing in lot every week, and you're incentivized to participate every week, and either get questions in or host the show or whatever. So
that's I think it's a good blueprint for somebody else trying to even start a new podcast. That's a cool way to get people involved and for people to become ambassadors of your show too. Because if they start getting ownership for participation, and that ownership yields more ownership, then they're going to want to get other people on to make that share of ownership more valuable, theoretically, you know,
And it's
that kind of thing.
frankly, I hope this happens sometime that you have somebody who already has a relatively large following, not even a giant following, but a decent following, to say, hey, we already have a show. We're going to start running it this way, and to see how that develops into, because you would get people who are very, very loyal to that show doing that. So anyway, should be cool.
That'll happen at some point. You'll you'll see migration coming around where like this seems like something we can migrate to or at least try. And looking forward to more of that.
Right on. Okay.
The
advice
advice layer,
one.
that's the one that won. It won both categories. So I wanted to look at the three, and we can talk a little bit about for the new owners of the layer, what needs to be done. This is a great example. Y'all Weird has mocked up an avatar for the advice layer. It's a light bulb. You know, we're thinking. I think that's a pretty good. I think it's great, and it's themed after, like, it matches the Den theme and stuff, which I thought was really thoughtful. And then he posted in the layer saying, "Hey, I opened a governance issue, and here's what it is. Here's the picture." And so now there's commentary. People can talk about it. And if there's any questions that aren't answered in this small description that's in the governance issue itself, then you can get them answered here. You can ask the proposer what they were thinking or suggest maybe a modification of it. This is fine. If it's something more complex, maybe do it before you propose a GI. You know, if you think there's going to be input and feedback that, like, for example, if Y'all Weird thought, you know what, I've got half an idea here. I'm going to need everybody else to help me finish it. Maybe do that before the GI. But no, the way this is ready to go. So I think I've already voted on that. Let me make sure that I have.
It's awesome. You know, we ran the all the feedback when we were developing what is probably the second best logo in crypto, which is the Den logo, and it was amazing because it was just awesome because it was pretty much I had a heavy hand in it, an iron fist, but it was tons of feedback from the community, right? And that logo,
I like the logo a lot.
That logo is freaking amazing because it's a phi, right? Which is the Fibonacci stuff. It's a Greek letter phi as a dragon, and that's, you look at it.
I didn't get that. I'm not a Greekologist, so I wasn't aware.
And you should see there's so many variations on it, and there were even some of the community posted memes focusing on this was good, that was bad. What's the
hot or not
the DJ
what?
The DJ meme where he's doing this on one
cell phone or something,
so anyway, it was awesome,
yeah.
But I still think that's anyway, whatever. And so I didn't even realize until you said that, because I went in and voted and like it's at 47%, right, which is pretty amazing because it was just 23 hours ago.
Yes, so 8 people have already voted on it, and that's the right idea. Like, this is how things are done now. There's not an admin that just goes and does stuff. We have to collectively do it.
And kudos to Y'all Weird, because not only did he propose the layer, right, but he came in straight day one and said, hey, this is what we should have, and he proposed it, and he made a post, which when the layer governance stuff, like, say, after we get done with site-wide governance, we're going to come back and you will have an automated post for every governance issue, which will be where, how do I say this? I think this is correct. It's going to render the vote buttons essentially in the post. It'll basically be like you're looking at this, but you'll have comments below it. It's going to be some mix of that.
Do we think that we're going to be able to vote in that post, or are we still going to go to the voting mechanism?
I don't remember. And it kind of depends. Like, okay.
I'm a fan of there being different ways to get to the same thing, personally, because different people's brains work differently on how to navigate.
I want to make it very simple for someone to ask a question. It's like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Because sometimes I won't understand what they mean by a certain tag. It might be legitimate, but I need to ask them, what's this actually mean?
Great example of that is I have lot in the motorcycle layer. Let me just go back to a different. I'll go here. So let me just go to governance here. And I went through and I was like, you know what? I should go vote on stuff. I have a lot in there. But then I came in and I saw like that I was out of my element. So
Yes.
this would have been this is a great example. I don't know what a Husqvarna is. I'm assuming it's a manufacturer that makes motorcycles.
I thought it was a tractor manufacturer.
Okay.
I mean, I
I don't
know. I almost bought a lawnmower once from Husqvarna.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So they probably make bikes too then.
it must.
And so here's where I stopped. I was like, okay, there's a lot of tags that maybe that's great. We should have tags, but actually, I'm not really a motorcycle person. So I went to the motorcycle layer to see if Alxons had opened up a post to say, hey, we need tags. Here's what I propose.
Yeah.
And I didn't see one in there, and so I felt out of my element. And I didn't vote.
Right.
Although it looks like now, as of yesterday, there is some in there. So this can be, if you have lot for motorcycle, come in, chime in on this this idea for the new avatar. I just noticed that Alxians had proposed some things and they weren't voted on, a lot of them. So I didn't know if that was because there was not a wide desire to have each individual manufacturer a tag. Maybe there was for example, the gaming layer. I don't want to have a tag for every game, but I might have a tag for every genre of game. So I didn't, it wasn't clear.
Yep.
Yeah. So the other layers, so that's advice. Go vote on that. The other layers are motorcycle, and which we just talked about, and I had it open, gardens and flowers. So motorcycle also needs an avatar and a banner, but it looks like that's being worked on. So that's cool. Let me turn off this. There we go. Motorcycles is a thing. Motorcycles been trying to get in for a few months now, right?
Months, yep.
Yeah. So that's cool. We've got both a cars and a motorcycles layer now. The governance issues, same location, all the layers, go fill it out. The next one, gardens and flowers, I actually paid for that one. And also, just to recap, this was first runner-up motorcycle. So that was a 200 matter fee. And anybody who was a voter who committed lore can pay that fee. It doesn't matter who it is. And then gardens and flower was third runner-up. Yeah, I paid whatever it was, 600 matter, I think, to get that one made.
Yep.
And it looks like there's already some flowers in here. So perfect. We will need to go in and fill out the same thing. There's going to be a layer description. We need avatar. We need banner, things like that. So that whenever someone's scrolling through their layers, you can see some of the layers don't have avatars. So that's a good thing to make it look like it's active, so that somebody is interested in going and checking it out. Because the more people that are interested in it, the more rewards you get in it, right?
Yep.
So those are the three. Anything else to recap on those?
I don't think so. I mean, it's, they're brand new, so go subscribe to them.
Yes.
Help them out.
Actually, I don't think. Let me do that while I'm here. For subscribe to motorcycle, subscribe to, where'd I put it? I'll do it later. I'm not going to go back to it now. I lost it.
No worries.
What I was going to say though is what we can do real quick is I want to look personally, even just to see next month where are we at starting wise. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yes.
So it looks like it's going to be current situation at the top of the list for lore, and then unique voters, it's going to be the same thing. So if we want to tell you what, look through these, the top few, especially the runners up, the ones that almost made it this month, and see if you want to compete with current situation, because it looks like that's who the competition's against squarely right now.
And the next, by the way, look at the next go by lore real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
No worries.
The next by lore is quite a bit down.
Substantially.
563, yeah.
It's like 3x.
Wild. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Airdrops are interesting because there's a lot of them. And if you don't know how to claim them, like, you just miss out.
And I've totally gotten out of touch with all that stuff. And I swear I probably have some stuff sitting around somewhere that I have no idea because I can't keep track of it.
For sure. Like, I mean, I remember unexpected stuff. Like whenever I was playing around with Uniswap V2, whenever I started getting into that, like later on, they had an airdrop. And if you'd ever used it, you got part of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Same thing with OpenSea. I was just because I'm on Den, I had played with OpenSea and I bought some NFTs or maybe failed to sell some or whatever. And just because I had used OpenSea, I got they have a token that they launched, and they're airdropping to anyone who's done any business on OpenSea.
So I should check that out too, huh?
Yeah, I got like $150. I just went and clicked the thing and signed it with my wallet, and they were like, "Here's money, thanks."
Was that which one was that? Was that the SOS or was that?
That was
something
SOS.
else?
Yeah, that was SOS.
Okay. I've not looked.
Yep. But you have to claim it. They're not just airdropping it like they used to. Remember when they used to before wallets started hiding tokens by default, where you had to manually, I don't know if maybe I have that right. Anyway, it was like an advertising thing that people would do. They would airdrop their token, and you would just have a token in your wallet for no reason. And then you would go look at it to see what it is, and it drove traffic to the website or something like that. You know, strategy.
Spam. Was it Vin? And there's another one where there's always like 777 tokens, and it's like if you had Ethereum in your wallet.
Oh
you would
yeah,
get that.
right.
Weird.
There was one of them, I forget. It was something like that, and it was a gimmick to make it look like it was worth a bunch. And yeah, and then the next iteration of that, of course, was this past year's DeFi madness, right? When quote unquote when DeFi happened, when it was all the food-based tokens and all that stuff, Yeah. So
what a year.
Yes. What a year.
Yes.
All right. So current situation is who to compete with. What are they about? Let's see. That's going to be just like if you're stuck in traffic and you're like, all right, this shit happened.
I took this as the original Twitter vision, where it's like, I'm eating a sandwich, guys. Yeah. What do you think? And that type of thing. But I don't know, right? It could be anything.
Current situation, lockdown number 75, and we're eating crickets this month.
Don't eat the bugs, whatever you do. They cannot force you.
So there's another LCP in the books. Awesome.
Right on.
And I wanted to go through some of the governance stuff too, but it looks like we did that already because it was just the advice one that I wanted to go over this every week. So.
Oh yeah. So but there were. Wait a minute, real quick. I think if I go through there's the advice. Motorcycle. They threw a whole bunch up, which is awesome, right? I didn't know it. I don't remember how I found it. I think from the new governance button, which, as you can see, you can sort by last modified or created, and then filters are coming soon, right? Yeah. So I can show that real quick.
Yeah, totally. The filters will be handy because right now, and just to show what a dramatic improvement this was, the method in the beginning, the first pass was you have to go to the layer, you have to know that you own it, you have to go into it, you have to go click governance issues, and then you have to look at them. Oh, there's none here. All right, let me go back.
Yeah,
that's frustrating. Okay, now I go to another one.
Then we added the icon on the far right side. Yeah, which is still was like, oh, now it's one less step.
Yep, one less step.
Back. All this happened within a week, but yeah. But you can click on that and say, oh, there's nothing there.
This new sidebar button came up, and this is so much better, right? Yeah. And then the next thing is so much better again, which is you can hide. We want to be able to hide the ones you can't vote on, right? Because if I go in and I'm looking at these, there's like. Let's see. Let's go to the top. I know there's some. I know it. Nope, I don't see any. But I can go in and try to vote on them, and then it'll be like, you don't have any lot for this. You can't vote. And
I can show you one of those. Yeah. So here's mine, right?
Okay.
So, and this is, by the way, and you can't see the URL or anything, but this is the dev environment. So this is not out there yet, but that you can go to the same governance thing in the sidebar, and you can now, and this is not at all. In fact, these are not even the same words or anything else. So you can go order by created or order by modified. And modified means if anybody votes on it, it'll pop it to the top. It'll pop to the top when it resolves, when it's created, right?
I noticed that with the advice one. When I voted on it, it was further down, and then I voted on it, and I went back, and it was at the top again. Yeah.
The default, and I can't remember what the naming will be. We're working through that in comms, but that. It will be all of the governance issues for which you have lot that you can vote on it, or if it's site-wide, it'll show too, and which you have not yet voted on, right? So it'll basically be kind of a to-do list. Here's a queue of things that I need to vote on that I can vote on. And that's kind of what we want, so we can get people in there to weigh in, right? Make it as simple as possible. Get rid of anything you've already voted on. You won't have to see all that. There will probably be a filter in there for things that you have proposed yourself, because it'll be things you probably care about a lot.
Good point. Right? Hadn't thought of that.
and I don't know if that's actually implemented or not. No, it's. I mean, oh, I'm logged in as Tim, so yes, that is just me. And then the last would be things that I have already voted on, right? So, and I can see, like, is there anything in here? Take off that. Okay, so this is change proposal, test of, right? And I have one lot and whatever this thing is. So, oh, it worked. Okay, and then I can commit that, right? Hopefully I didn't mess up some testing data for them. But either way.
It's just testnet.
Yeah, and so that's there. And there might be a couple of other filters, particularly when we get the site-wide governance in, because you might want to see, I only want to see my layer stuff. I want to not see site-wide or whatever else. We have to figure that out. But
yeah, because there's what we got to do, I think, is we've got to create, and this is, I guess, related to my preference of having multiple ways to get the same thing, but there's all kinds of different groups and all kinds of different people that are going to use Den in different ways. Maybe it's a gaming guild, and it's the you want to see maybe that's all you use Den for, so you just want to see my stuff that I care about in this one spot. Or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to own a bunch of the layers and you want to have a bird's eye view, and you're more active in the wide community.
And as an example, when we do some of the things coming in 2022, we get site-wide governance out. We already have layer governance in. The layer governance, and I made a post or I guess a reply about it a few weeks, maybe it seems like a few weeks ago, where we're talking about the fact that you have a lot-based governance system, so a community can do its thing. That we are largely thinking of it as governance as a service. So we want to bring in, small clubs, neighborhood organizations, that they can come in and have a place to discuss things, to vote on things. They can not be subscribed to anything else on Den. They can be fully focused in that one area if they want, and they can branch out. But the beauty then is, this would be there. Oh, Sally put up something, Jim put up something, I'm going to vote on it.
Yeah, I would like to see, I mean, that can be, we talk about next year. We have all the tools that we've been just pumping out one after the other this year. And then next year, we really get to engage all of these things and use them, and can focus on that way more than we have been.
Right.
And down the road, like, for example, in gaming, I'm starting to experiment with that a little bit. I got like 4 or 5 other people in on it. At some point, we'll make a little guild. It'll be a little Den gaming guild. I've never started a guild before. You know what I mean? I've always been reluctant to join them because they were somebody else's thing. But this can be our own little guild. We're starting on Elder Scrolls Online. Super accessible, cheap. It's on sale. And then what I want to find out is, like, what could a guild use Den for that they can't use their existing like communications platform for? And especially once we get chat rooms in, and the chat rooms have the embedded posts where if you're sitting in chat and someone posts in your layer, it just shows up in line in the chat, so you don't have to like monitor everything so actively. It just kind of like is an indicator, and you can go check it out if you're interested in it.
Stream.
That's the kind of thing. Yeah. And so I can see, like, at first in the gaming layer, you might have tags for different guilds, or might, that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And then branch off into maybe a guild gets big enough where they launch their own layer, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then, the same thing can happen with different communities, not just gaming, and different branches off and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Yep.
That's cool. Yep.
Okay.
So let me bring this back up and see where we are.
New sorting method. We got through that. We got through the winners.
Yes. So we had the winners, first and third runners up, matter fee option. Layer owners, go decorate. I would recommend that each new layer open a post saying, all right, we got a new layer. What's everyone's input? That kind of thing. Yeah. And from there, you'll get sort of an idea of what kind of tags people want, what kind of artwork, and then the description is where you're going to put. And I need to do this for the music layer too, because I kept talking about it and not doing it, which is just something that's basic community guidelines. So, we prefer to do this. Like, if you're going to post a video that's just a YouTube video, no description, why don't you go ahead and make it a post or a thread about that, to where everybody responds with their video? Make it a thing.
Everyone. Yes. Give me
Just
a better video than this. Yeah. No, that's
totally
awesome. Yeah. Community guide. And we want to have something formalized so that, and long term, I think it will be integrated pretty heavily, but where you can have a field that, how do I say this? Basically, you would have a community guidelines, which would be a markdown styled document that would be embedded in your community, and you would then propose a change. So if you say, hey, I want to add a rule to ban people who do this, right? Or to, it's not the same thing, banning, right? But you know what I mean? That
well, you could, the threshold, for example, you could
yeah,
change or something.
yes, right. But one way or another, it's like to change the guidelines, to say, oh, you know what, people have been doing this, we don't really like that, let's add it to the community guidelines, and everybody else disagrees. It's like, no, right?
Yeah, in that case, yeah, I'm about most things in life, I'm fine being wrong. I just need to see like the evidence of it. And if the feedback is like, no, that's a terrible idea, then, oh, okay, cool, my bad. You know, we'll do what the community wants.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
I do want to make a quick reminder though about, like we said, everybody has a vote that holds lot now. But if you're a brand new user, you still might not be able to propose one, and that's just because you do have to use 50 energy to create a proposal, and that's just a little bit of friction to get around exploits for new accounts. That kind of thing.
And some of this could be even unintentional. We wanted to avoid any potential spam. We already knew, especially because the governance issues in the future will actually cause a notification to all lot owners, right? And you'd probably be able to turn it off, but there's a potential for a lot of spam that I'm just going to propose a bunch of junk. So that's one thing you want to avoid, and also, not a nefarious purpose, but someone might not totally understand how the governance works if they're new enough. So we thought energy was a good threshold there. So
yeah, and that's a good point with energy, matter, lore, lot. I'm among the people that wasn't sure why we needed all these tokens in the beginning when I first found out about Den. But the more we build it out and the more that we use it, I'm like, oh, wait, we have a specific thing for that. And it's a very, this is what this is made for. It's a good use for it.
Yeah.
So I now like it a lot.
Yes. Oh, and then the second point on that is if larger owners do not participate. And I will tell you, even if larger owners participate, sometimes it's still not enough to resolve the vote. And we've seen this. I'm very impatient about stuff like this. I would like to propose that we make it a 1 week period, but either way.
That is the other thing I want to say.
The plurality. If you get, it's not even a majority. If you get the most votes, and 2 weeks passes, it will pass. The issue will resolve on purpose. Which, that's an interesting thing. And
well, that's a note to both owners and those who what am I trying to say? Big and small owners. So that if you go in and if you own a lot of the layer because you committed a lot of lore, if you sleep on it, the people that did not commit as much as you will still make the changes without you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and that's good all around, I think, because it's a little bit of pressure to pay attention if you value the layer. And it is a little bit of flexibility for people that have a whale sleeping on them and not doing their job. Yeah. That kind of thing, which is a reason, like you said, maybe to bring it to 1 week. 2 week was felt safe at the time. Any of this can be changed with next year's governance or this one if we need to, but really cleanly with the new one.
And other one, I don't know how priorities on it. I would like to see that be a layer setting that could be dictated by governance. So if you have someone who is totally, let's say someone who owns 54% of the layer, and they're just they are not participating at all, then the remaining people, instead of waiting 2 weeks for every resolution, could say, let's make it into, maybe there's a range, but let's make it a week. And
okay, got you. So you could potentially use the first 2 week period, for example, to propose something that changed it to a 1 week period, so that you didn't have to wait so long next time.
Yep, and you can get everything set up. So I think it'd work.
Yep.
Let's see here. Everybody should update their layer descriptions. Some of them are probably out of date. Some of I know there's some out there that Anyway,
I think probably all of mine. I mean, that's a note more like even as much to myself as anybody else, because a lot of them were created before Den got so good. Maybe I'll say
yeah.
it that way.
Well,
And
and
more users that we have
yeah.
now and things like that.
And before though, it would have been you on all of the ones that you have admin on would have had to have been responsible for doing that. We're now anybody with a lot can go in there and say, hey, that's right. Because I noticed there was a misspelling in one of them that I was like, oh, okay, I need to correct that misspelling. And it was great. Anybody could do that now. So anyway.
Yes, indeed. So, all right, where are we? That's most of our. I mean, that's our recap for this week. I wanted to talk a little bit about. We've hit on it a couple of times, but like this year, the whole community has been awesome. Even some of the people earlier on, there was a little bit of hoopla and a couple of people left for whatever reason. But even that was super helpful. Because like all feedback is useful feedback. And I don't know, I'm proud of Den, and I'm proud of what everyone has done here. Not even like, I don't know, I'm a talking head sometimes, but the people that are doing the work under the hood and the people that are helping me do stuff in Gainesville who understand it and get it, and they have this vision for what we're trying to do here. Like, what a team to be on, So just kudos to everyone. A little into your message for you.
I'm amazed at and I'm with any of this type of stuff. I'm extremely impatient, wanting to get feature after feature out. I have 10, 20 things I want to see happen with Den, and mixing that in and trying to figure out. And governance was we I think we realized that it will be the best way to get measured feedback from the people who are actually participating in the right behaviors most. And that's going to help tremendously, because we're going to start, having the community literally set the priorities, potentially, well, and ideally, even the budgeting on how we get stuff built out, and a lot more than that. There'll be a lot of really interesting things going on next year.
Yeah, and that's something that like a year ago, just exactly what you were saying. I thought that I was ready to like that. Okay, we're at a state where I can start getting people involved locally in person and start doing this. This is before we had an app. This is before we had governance features. This is before we had all that stuff. And I even did it a couple of times and put some money into a couple of little events just to see. Okay, checkpoint. Where are we? Are people going to participate in this? And the answer was no, not until there's an app. So cool. You know what I mean? Good information to have.
Yep.
And, the same with what you were saying, my local efforts, it's going to be to the point where, folks are going to be using the governance system in the Gainesville layer to pick the budget and how much we pay bands for a performance in the end. So it's going to be like, I'm just everything transparent, do it, experiment. And we're calling it the Den experiment too, which is cool.
That's nice, man.
So yeah, but all of that's only something that is in place now because of everything that was done in the last year.
Yep.
And I was impatient too, but now it's like, oh, it's here, it's real.
yeah, that's gonna be amazing. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I mean, like big picture, LCP changes, even the default layers that you're subscribed to when you pop
up. There's been so many new ones now, So the default layers, what did we have? There was something pending we were talking about. Anyway, but the default layers is something that right now it's a manual process. We're going to have to review it occasionally. And we did a first pass this week, but maybe we'll start doing it when we do need to review them again. I don't think it'll be every month or anything, but we can say, okay, I don't know. So we'll have to figure out a method to do that before it's automated, right?
Right.
Something we talked about is maybe updating the auto sub for like the new LCPs when they come along. Questions there were like, what does that mean? Is it only the winner, or is it the winner plus anybody who pays the fee? stuff like that.
Yep. And then the other side of it would be, and this might be controversial, but I think it would work, would be to automatically subscribe current users to newly created LCP, because it'll be low content at first anyway, but it'll be a better way for discovery for people who, maybe I'm not here every day. Maybe I don't follow the LCP, right?
Yeah,
that'll be a valuable thing.
Yeah, you would just see new every now and then. You'd see, well, once a month probably. You'd start to notice types of posts that you weren't familiar with. You get used to your feed, and then the next month it's like, oh, there's a bunch of bumblebees. Is there a new bumblebee layer? Weird.
Yeah, right. And the fact LCP is a very early form of governance. And if anybody doesn't know, before we had lore in the wild, the very earliest layers were created in the LCP with energy.
Yeah.
And so we said, okay, we're going to run
one of those.
And I think it was, we ran them for 24-hour period. So you'd only have one batch. And the funny hack was,
oh yeah, that's right,
vote at the 0 hour and then wait until the next 0 hour, and you could almost have double your energy.
Yeah, because you could not let your energy refill. You wake up in the morning, your energy's refilled, and it's just it's like dump it all in.
Yeah,
and then over the course of the day, you grow some more. But that was cool. That was something that I love learning that way and developing that way, because it's like it's a sandbox, it's a playground. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you get something that's genuinely useful out of it in the end.
Yeah. And then two other things I'd like to hit upon before we close. If we're, I don't know if we're close.
No, we're good. We are through the agenda, I think. So yeah.
Okay. The related to the site-wide governance, I've been on calls with the developers quite a bit this past week about the implementation, right? So we have, I believe that the liquidity stuff we have worked out. Here's the formula, the algorithm. There were a couple of little wrinkles on the side with the matter, the creator vote. And it was very interesting because there was the potential, and I don't want to get into the details too much here because it's not final, but that if you deposited matter, that you could have a huge amount. So it stands the description, but the implementation without thinking about it was potentially dangerous, because someone could come in and basically buy a ton of the vote by just having a large balance of matter, even though they didn't generate it, they bought it. Now, it's interesting because half of that creator vote is on the liquidity side. So you could go and provide liquidity, which is of value, but that's only half of that vote. And the other half, we did restrict it to only matter earned from content creation, evaluation, tagging, etc. Not related. It's going to exclude any matter generated from lot, because that will be counted on the lore side. So very
it's going to also exclude matter brought in from the outside.
Yeah. Well, if you deposited matter, that won't be counted in the equation on purpose. So it's only stuff you've actually.
I hadn't thought about that, but it's a good idea. Yeah. At first, I thought about let them do it. It'll just run the price up, I guess. But then you're right, because it even if that's the case, you still are in a situation where, I guess the utility of the system is lessened that way.
And I'll tell you, and we talked about it, I think this morning on a different call, you and I, that the historical interest in governance, right? That democracy being this, you originally would have had a king, and democracy was an interesting thing, but it had major dangers. If you look into the history of ancient Greece, the answer to that, the correction, was the republic. And the Greeks had this, I can't remember, I'd have to look it up, but there's a word for it. They considered a cycle that you would have a despot, that you'd have a revolt, you'd end up with a democracy, you would go from a democracy into a demagogue, where someone would effectively split the populace against each other and take control, and then become again a central power, and it would be a cycle. And so the Republic has issues too. You look at ancient Rome, you can look at today, for representative democracy, parliamentarianism, whatever else. There are still major issues, and so with decentralized governance, there's an introduction of a new issue, which, like say, Larry Sanger from Wikipedia, founder of Wikipedia, has brought up, that the whales.
His perspective was very interesting. Yeah.
That
Just,
he does not like a lot. Well, he doesn't like blockchain for doing things like what we're doing on Den, because he thinks of this whale. But the answer is, we're not doing it in a way that a lot of others, where it's not one person, one vote. It is, which would be, if you go wisdom of the crowd, is that angle. It is, one token, one vote, which is more of a stockholder style voting mechanism, which means the whales control.
Even more than that, though, the way that we're doing it is more of a merit measurement.
Yeah, and it is literally merit via behavior. So we're measuring behaviors, and you get a score, an objective score based upon your behaviors as judged by the current version of algorithms, and that is what dictates how much weight you have. And so effectively, we don't want someone to be able to come in and just take everything over by throwing in a couple of $1 million, because they could ruin it, and they could intentionally ruin it for very cheap if they want to do that way. Whereas if they have to come in, and this is the beauty of it, if you have to come in and effectively do the system's bidding by providing good content, then so be it. You're just providing good content.
Right. That was what we came to. We had a discussion about that 8 months ago probably, but it was about it was a conversation about fake accounts or duplicate accounts, and we solved at least most of that. But one of the interesting things that came out of that was that, like, it's ideal that every individual user is a real person and yada yada, but in the end, if someone's gaming the system, quote unquote, by literally providing the type of content that community values, why is that a problem? Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, they're being useful maliciously.
Yeah. And in fact, when we're on sales calls, I consider this as a entirely new approach to software, where you can apply it to security. You can apply it to, creating a more efficient process in your company, whatever. But it's all behavior, and literally that it's if you can take the person who is attacking your system and
put them to work for you.
Put it to work for you, and you can use it as a bounty as well. So you can say, oh, I think we're solid, but then somebody comes in, somebody's always going to find a hole. It's software. And when they find a hole, then you realize, oh, how are they do? Oh, I didn't realize that. And if it's in some cases, it's something you want to happen. And in other cases, you're like, oh, we don't want that to happen, but it's a bounty because they've
paid themselves at that point, have they?
Yeah.
Haven't they?
But they've, so it's an interesting thing. Totally different way of looking at it. And so I look at that as, that's the way Den does governance, and it is behavior based. And I think that's the future, but we'll see.
I think that the way that we are doing a DAO is going to be, I know that it's unique.
Yeah.
Just that you don't have to buy anything.
Right.
And you don't even have to know that you're using crypto at all.
Yes.
You don't even have to know you're in a DAO, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's the DAO structure, but it's made accessible for regular humans that don't want to know how to use crypto, that are averse to buying into a system, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to buy a shit. You got to make an account with an email address. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you have a say based on your behavior over time. That's incredible.
Yeah. And that's, you think about it, I might not even know that I'm a good writer, but I start writing stuff and people really like it in this community. And now I have voting weight because I know why I'm here. So I was like, oh, I would want that, right? This is kind of
Yeah.
a crazy thing.
And because those are the people that you want voting. Those are the people
Yep.
that you want having a say. And as a reminder, this is the site-wide governance we're talking about, and you don't have to be a lot holder for that one. That's not
Right.
something where you have to hold lot to vote in site-wide governance stuff, Den.wide governance issues.
So, it's close. They're getting the lot side or the and I think I can't remember the naming. So we did creator, we did community owner. So it's community
creator,
owner, and founder.
And founder.
Vote.
Yep.
And so it's 3 separate votes as a board, but each vote is comprised of proportional shares based upon people's behavior. So
And
you
two
might
of
have
those 3
shares in
split into
multiple
2 halves as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Based on liquidity provision versus the other metric, whatever we call it.
Yep.
I love that we have these metrics. Maybe we should come up with fancy names for them all. That can be part of our lore. Our Den lore.
Yes. So
thematic.
Anyway, it's well on its way. I hope that it will be out early January. We'll see though in 2022. By the way, there is already a Den.Gov layer that will be the permanent layer. I think we're going to keep the Den.Gov 2021, archive it, not let anyone post in it or anything else. It'll be there, and then the new one will take its place, and we'll be moving forward with it. And it'll be
right on.
And that layer, by the way, will be governed. It'll be the first instance of a custom vote on the platform, or custom, I guess, voting mechanism. So it won't be pure lot based. It'll be these 3 votes. They're proportionally ruled, and those same 3 votes will also decide the layer settings, like whether they change the banner or whatever else for that layer. So it'll be interesting.
So you're going to use the site-wide governance to change the banner and stuff of the governance layer. Okay, cool. So that'll be the one layer that has a different governance mechanism.
For now, it'll be something that anybody could do, though. It'll just be something that Den would.
Well, that goes back to the governance as a service thing, where you're saying, here's the tools. How do you want them to work? What do you want your government to look like? Do you want to be dictators, or do you want to be a democracy, or do you want to be a republic, or do you want to have this?
Exactly.
That's like when you're playing Civilization. I don't know if you ever played that game, but it's cool because you get to pick different government types, and you get to try different things out, and morph into other types. Cool. Well, that's what I've got. I want to say shout out to Y'all Weird. Go vote on his avatar for the advice layer.
Yes.
And we should probably open up a thread to talk about tags, and just whoever's listening right now, let's open up posts on the layers that we own, and talk about how we want to there's a lot of changes that we're all going to want to do. We have placeholder things in right now for avatars and for banners. I know Outdoors was a banner that I made really quick in GIMP that is, was a picture from actually from Y'all Weird. And I just took that and made like a tree bark word that said outdoors on it, So there's a lot of stuff that was placeholders that we can now use this governance mechanism to go ahead and take ownership of, give it to everybody else, and change that stuff out.
Right.
But that's all I think that I've got, and we're right at an hour, so I think we timed it pretty well.
Perfect. We're good.
All right. Well, everybody, have a good rest of the year. We'll see you next year. See you next week.
This is our last show of the year.
Yeah.
Of all the shows. So
it is. Yep. Oh, the last show of the years.
Yeah.
It's every week now too. Just another reminder. At 3 p.m. Eastern, which would be noon your time. Is that right, Joe, on Pacific?
Yes.
Yep. So
and here's the thing: if anybody had posts something that they want more attention for as an issue in one of their layers, let us know. We can cover it. So, right.
All right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
year.
Happy New Year. And Y'all Weird wrote the song to this ad that we're going to go out on. So enjoy it. Cheers. Into the Dragon.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is probable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.